This week on Cars and Things Restos, we've got something special. We're not in our workshop. Let's have a look. Good morning, guys. We're here at the Holden Bottom Walk. Welcome back to Cars and Things Restos. Well, today we've got something a little bit different. So I'm going to spin you around and I'm going to show you where we are. Righto. We are in here at JP's Trim. We're coming in to see Jared. Here he is. Jared, how are you, mate?
Good, self.
Good. So I'll just show you his sign. Alright, we've roped Jared into doing us a favour. And getting our tonner dash covered. So there it is.
Done a bit of work to it already. Try and get a bit of prep rec sorted out.
Yep.
Which was a little bit rough around the edges and it had been painted beforehand, so we got him to come in and what were you saying? Dave gets all the shit jobs.
Yes. Did you watch the last one? Did you?
So, he came in and he took it back home and gave it a good clean up, and we're just a fair bit of sanding, a bit of mucking around because it's had a rough life, and we'll make it look a bit neater.
Beautiful. So we've got a bit of foam.
Yeah, so I do a bit of 3mm foam over top just to give it something to give it a factory sort of finish, but not too rough, not too hard. But you can't put it everywhere because it takes up too much room. You end up having issues putting all your dash cluster back in, your vents don't fit properly, so we just make sure that it's as neat as possible. And because it had a bit of damage across the top as well, here it was all damaged where it had been cracked and broken, so repaired all that, but you can't tell now with the foam over top. And we leave an area for the actual seam to stitch, or to glue to, sorry, and then away we go.
Beautiful. All right. So
task of making it fit.
So what's the plan now? What are you going to do now?
Well, I'll show you. I've got my pattern here that I've made. So prior to doing the foam work, I actually work out where I want the seams to go, pattern it out, and I'll make one up, and we'll go from there.
Beautiful. All right.
No worries.
Righto, buddy. Let's go. I'll just...
Make some fresh bits. So this is just some HJ Black from Novatex International. They do really, really good quality material for all your repro stuff. And I tend to make the pattern out of the same material. Yeah, so I pattern everything out of the material I'm going to use so you don't have any surprises. Because I could use just a cheap vinyl to do it with, but then you end up...
Oh, you mean,
like
so this is your template, is it?
This is the template here.
Yep.
And that's what I'm going to make it out of. It's the exact same roll, same material. And I do it that way purely so that everything works the same, everything stretches the same way. What you expect it to do, it will do. I've had it in the past where, especially if you're going from a cloth, not that you would on a dashboard, but sometimes you find that it causes bigger issues. I always just lay it out to make sure we're right.
All right, so you do that, trace it out, and then we'll cut it out?
Yep, that's
All
it.
right, I'll put it on time lapse while we do that.
Well, that's our main dash piece is ready to go. So that's where your air vents run through that section here. And I've changed my pattern a little bit so that the entire top and down the sides is all one piece. I haven't done it that way before, so we'll see how it goes. Make it work.
Don't worry me.
No, that's right. Sort of figure we'll just try it.
Yeah.
It's not how I'd normally do it, but give it a shot. Some telltale red thread from earlier.
Is this one red as well?
No, we'll do this one in black. So I only did the top stitch in red. The customer wanted a red one. But we'll keep this one all black, so it's a bit more of a universal. Can go with anyone's car.
So where'd you learn all this gear, do all this one?
I started in 2005. I stumbled across an ad for an upholsterer for an apprenticeship in Melbourne at Sunshine Motor Trimming. And went to the Vic Hot Rod show thinking, oh, that'd be an interesting trade. And so many cars there from my growing up as a teenager, and all these cars that I idolised were trimmed by this particular shop. So I contacted them on the Monday and started pretty well on the Thursday. And Pat Mercedes was good enough to teach me everything, and I was there for about 9 years. So that was a long time ago now. So we've just sort of kept things going on here, and there's quite a lot of cars, as you know, in the Sunraysia area. So it's been a bit of an up and down ride around here, and I've worked for other companies on as well. But we've just kept that going and try to get that work ethic going that Pat teaches, which is just, if it's worth doing right.
That's it, isn't it?
Yep. No shortcuts, no mucking around. If you're going to do it, for me, I strip a seat down to a bare frame, clean it up, repair it, straighten it, whatever has to be done. Some customers want them sandblasted, some want them sandblasted, painted, powder coated, whatever they want to do, basically. It comes down to how much you want to spend and how far you want to go with it. But I always strip them down to a bare frame and start again. There's no point in just repairing what's there. Other guys do it, and that's fine, but there's different markets for everybody, so it works out really well. So just set our stitch size. The old tractor here is a little bit different to your modern machines, but it's just the cheaper version of what I was taught on my trade. So I do a shorter stitch to actually put it together. And then for the actual top stitch,
so this is the underside, is it?
sorry?
This is what you're going to do, the underside?
So basically where we're joining it together, that short stitch will just, on a dashboard especially, because I don't back the seam up. So normally
otherwise you get a lump, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you can't make it too thick on a dashboard especially. That's why I use that 3mm foam to sort of take up a bit of that. But if I'm doing a seat, you always back the boot stitch up, because otherwise it's only one stitch holding that all together.
Yeah, it's set on all the time.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not strong enough, but on a dashboard we can get away with it because it's only light duty as such.
So that's why you cut lines.
Progress marks, or match marks as we used to call them. So it lets us know where we're at. Because if you put it in the wrong spot, you're in trouble. It doesn't work. And the tedious bit.
All right, all sewed together.
All sewn together. We're just going to get rid of some of the bulk here, some of the excess sewing allowance. That reduces the size of the seam as we try and glue it all down. A wider seam makes it easier to glue down, which would be handy, but it looks ugly as. So we do have a hint of the progress marks there still, which are on the dash as well. So it gives a bit of an indication where it needs to be when I glue it on. But realistically, they're just a rough idea of where it needs to be. Even though I've spent a fair bit of time patterning it out and getting it right, when you sew it together, everything moves, everything changes. There's some allowances made for that, but it's going to come down to wherever it sits the best and wherever it looks the best. And that's where it's going to want to lay. Nice sharp scissors help with this one. Always. You don't want to cut too close, then you ruin everything. Start again. If I cut one panel on this now, then it's the whole lot's in the bin. And have done that many times in the past. I don't think there's any trimmer out there that hasn't done that before.
Oh, there'll be a few say they haven't.
Oh yeah, of course. As they say, never be afraid to fail.
Right. Do that often.
That's
Did
right.
that yesterday, mate.
Yeah.
Which the people will see. Oh, this video will probably come out after that, so they'll already see.
I already know what you're on about.
Yeah.
If you're going to fail, you might as well fail spectacularly. So let's just get rid of our lumps and bumps. You can't just hack it off, it's got to be neat, otherwise you'll see that through the finished product as well. And any trimmers watching this will sit there and be cringing away because I might do it differently, but everyone does something different. No different to paintwork.
That's it.
Everyone preps a car differently.
And there's plenty of other people out there to tell you that how you're doing it wrong. And
oh, that's right.
In the end, I don't care. Do it how I do it.
Yeah, that's true. But also, you get some people that actually know what they're talking about, and you get good advice sometimes. It's just sifting through what's good and what's not.
Yeah.
Trying a few different things to make it work for you, and that's the thing, it has to work for you. If it doesn't work for you, you're not going to make a good product out of it. So, and the speed at which people work too, that varies greatly. Odor Cool Trim is an absolute monster when it comes to being able to work fast and do incredible work. I don't know anyone that can work to the capacity or the level that he does. And I'm the polar opposite here. I would rather take my time and make sure it's right than send it out the door and not be happy with it. Which is to my detriment sometimes because I take too long to do things and it ends up costing me money, and that's just how it is.
You don't do that too much.
Yeah, that happens. But if I'm not happy with it, it doesn't leave.
Yeah, fair enough. Beautiful.
That is it. So
that's done.
It's done. So that gives us all of our shapes that we need. And that's actually the easy part. One dash.
There we go. So, this is not the one we're fitting.
No.
This is one we prepared earlier.
Hence the red thread on the machine before. Same but different. But we'll time with the ute much better.
It will do.
So this one going to stock. We'll be right.
Beautiful. Alrighty. On to the next bit. Back to it.
Back to it. So I'll just already ran a couple of coats of glue, just light coats over it. It's the same contact adhesive that a lot of cabinet makers use for laminating bench tops.
Yeah.
But, or very similar anyway. But they trowel it on, put it nice and thick. But with upholstery, you just can't do that. Just it'll seep through the material and make an absolute mess. So I'll just put another light coat on a few spots here, and we should be pretty all right to go.
that just a normal spray gun, or is it
Nothing special at all, yeah.
just a big tip?
Yep. Well, even a 1.4 tip will still spray it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem at all. Just has to, like, you can use like a putty style gun or something like that, and that's probably what that tip is here. It's pretty big.
Yeah, it looks like a 2.5 or something.
Yeah, 2.2 I think it was, something like that. But it doesn't really matter. It can be a $50 gun, it can be a $1,000 gun, it doesn't matter, as long as you spray it. The only issue I've got is this hose, air gets through it. So
it leaks, does it?
it doesn't leak as such, the glue goes off inside the line.
Oh, right.
So I've got to change that again. I've got another glue pot that I used to use that it's just past its use by date now, and that was fine. I changed the hose.
Yep.
And you can let that sit in there for 2-3 weeks and it's no issue at all.
Do you take this off and clean that, or is it?
Yeah. Pretty well weekly, daily, depending on what I'm doing, because you get a lot of spray back on it and it makes a bit of a mess. So, but what do? You just get on with it. Way better than brushing it.
All right, we'll get this glued up and see where we're at.
Check for tack. We'll try not to make too much of a mess of it. It's going to start on our corner of our seam. Attempt to anyway, actually. So it can't stick where I've got the glue for the moment. I don't particularly want it to stick there yet. So let's start on our corner of our seam.
How many goes do you get?
That depends. So because I've got foam on it as opposed to foam in the actual cover, so there's two ways you can stitch all your foam into the cover itself. And then you really, with this foam, you actually get a couple of goes because it has a backing on it. Whereas with your old style foam with a different scrim on it, as soon as you lift it up, it's start again. So try and do it a little bit differently with our seam here. Like I said, I'm not trying to glue everything down at once here. Just want to get it roughly in position. Where our heat gun comes in handy too. A little bit of heat lets it stretch a bit nicer. Shouldn't need too much anyway, it's just to lay it flat. Because of all things to be happening in Mildura right now, it's getting a bit cold.
Yeah. Crazy.
Very strange. So we've got our progress mark here. We have another progress mark on our material.
So
that gives me a bit more of an idea of where it needs to lay. Back our corner around. And there is no guarantee that it's going to fit. Always an educated guess. Just pull that down. Get a little bit of a second attempt at it. Not real happy with that. And right now I don't want to glue anything other than the allowance. So I'll try and just tack it all in its rough position for now. Lifting my glue, which is not great. Yeah, I'm on the wrong side for you, sorry.
That's all right.
The main aim for now is just to try and get our lines as neat as possible. So everything from there pretty well falls into place once we get it straight.
Right, as you were saying.
Well, this is the tedious part. So without having a Premier insert in it, it's really hard to get the vinyl to stick in the corners where the vents are. So I can re-glue that later. So this section here, fresh blade. Not much wiggle room with these, so we'll start at the top and sort of work our way in a bit. Mainly because I've got a really sharp corner. So in the past I've made aluminium trims, which Dave and I discussed. So we'll try it this way first. If it doesn't work, then that's when we start looking at other options to dress up this area. So, and it's just about taking your time and leave it where you think it needs a bit of relief to help it pull around the corner. So that's the best part that it's going to be for the whole time. The rest of it makes it a bit more difficult. So it's these corners in here that are the issue.
Because later on they'll lift. Is that what you're saying?
Potentially, yeah. So even with what we're doing here, it's just a contact adhesive. So especially in our sun, we have issues with things lifting up. You know, other trimmers will be well versed at doing this. There's a lot of guys that do this quite often, so they've got it down pat. Been doing it for years, whereas I don't do these all that often. So, as I said before, don't be afraid to fail. I just got to fix it. But I did spend a couple of days working out how to get these right, and I'm pretty happy with that already. So we get in here. The other problem is when we go too far down, or when we cut too far, I should say, it's all visible. So the vent doesn't actually cover the edge very well.
Have we got any vents here?
Yeah, I've got just a couple over there. So got a box of them somewhere. So I'll just push all this in as best I can for the moment. No, 1/4 inch out. Long as you can't see in there. But this is also the reason why a lot of people have made some really nice looking interior trim pieces to go in there.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Because they're really hard to get right. And a premier section to go around here at the moment, they're quite expensive and hard to find. Yeah, so that's sort of what we're looking for in there to get that corner nice and tight. So I've had this glued yesterday to try and save it a bit. Try and get it all to tack up really well. So we'll see how well it lasts. Coming into winter, I don't think it'll be an issue. It's actually a really good time to do it because it gives the adhesive plenty of time to work itself out. The other thing is I hate wrinkles. I guess that comes down to part of the trade too. If you go to your trimmer or your mechanic or wherever and they say, no, we can't do that, or we don't want to do that, there's usually a reason. They probably can do it, but...
It's just a bitch.
Yeah, that's right. The amount of time that you put into this, and like I said, I'm putting extra time into this to try and work it out because I want to provide this to customers. Sometimes it's just not worth it time-wise. So work that into the corner. That takes the stress away from that corner, allows the material to drop in. And I'll find our second corner because it's got an internal edge as well. That's where I'll come in from. Which in my practice runs I stuffed up almost all of them because I got a bit carried away and cut it too close. So we'll see how this goes. Then we just need to get rid of all this. Bit more heat to soften it up. I'll probably have to come out and do a bit of a test fit to make sure certain bits are hidden where they need to be hidden.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think we'll be right. There we go, that's that. It worked out all right. So
It looks good.
tucked in nice.
Mm.
They just have to stay there. That's the hard part.
All right. Reckon she covered, mate?
Hope so.
Covered to me.
I reckon she's pretty well right. It's not a 150% job, but it's pretty good.
Look, looking pretty sweet.
Yeah, obviously I've got to trim everything off there yet.
Yeah.
Now, there we go. They're going to work. I know what you're going to do with these vents. They might come up all right with a clean.
Are they his?
Yep.
Yep. You'll get the shit job.
Yep. That's the only way to do it.
Won't you, Dave? You'll get the shit job.
But
yeah, we'll get him to clean them up, armour oil them, and see if they come up right.
yeah,
I've got a few sets of them, so
But other than the final trim everything off and final clean up, that's pretty much.
I reckon you've nailed it, mate. I reckon it's fucking shit hot.
Yeah, they do come up pretty well.
Mm-hmm. It's nice and snug.
Not much I can do across here. There's a little bit of a line where the seam is. But I did.
But it's just not that noticeable.
No, once it's in the car as well.
Yeah.
You know, I'd prefer to put a bit of foam across there, but the issue is once it goes in with the foam, you start causing other issues with lumps and bumps. And
well, it's not mine, but...
No.
Well, it might as well be, Dave. I'll be driving it all the time.
That's right. No, that's pretty well a finished product, except for a final trim off.
Just got to trim off. Well, you've done absolutely brilliant, mate. I think Dave's going to be over the moon.
That's good. You can stop pestering me now.
Yeah.
He's been harassing me for a while.
But now he's going to pester me.
Yeah, that's good.
They want me to put it all together now.
I'll have to come out and have a look.
Yeah.
And see what it's looking like.
Right.
Well, I have to anyway. I want to see how this fits in and just make sure that every edge is covered where it should be.
Yeah.
That all looks good. So
beautiful.
Always hard when the car's not here, but we'll see what it does and go from there.
Yeah. Come out and check it out.
Yeah, should be good.
You've seen it anyway on the video, but it's different in real life.
Absolutely. I want to see that colour.
Oh, it's magic.
Yeah.
And look what we can see in the background there.
It's the old 55.
The 55.
Had that for about 11 years now. It was pretty well a dead stocker from the States, left-hand drive. And it's had quite the transformation over the past 10 years.
It has. It's got something special sitting in there.
You can excuse the manifold, but it is going single plane. I'm going to put a single plane manifold with a throttle body on top and just dressing it down so at first glance it looks more like a small block than an LS.
Yeah.
Because no one likes the look of an LS. So, well, yours looks all right. It's a little bit different.
Yeah. So you're actually prepping and getting it ready because you're taking this to Summernats.
Summernats.
You got in.
Yeah.
One of the few.
We went to Summernats for a look for the first time and then had a ball. Didn't think much of it and put an entry in, and everyone's telling me it was sold out in half an hour for the second round. So
and you got in.
Yeah.
I got in the first round. So Brad and I got in the first round, so we're laughing. You're in the second round. So
that's it.
You'll be heading down there when we go down. So we'll be.
We will. We've got to make sure this is like we're going to take the body off the chassis yet and finish doing the chassis work to it. Because we did a power rack and pinion in it, one of the retro racks from Adelaide with the Astra Power steering pump. So that's hoppers, stoppers, brakes on the front and a Borg-Warner diff with disc brake in the rear. We're just setting up a new set of extractors and changing the steering shaft setup to make it a bit friendlier. And then it needed body mounts, so I thought while the body's off, whether it's 100mm or a metre in the air, it's off.
Yep.
And we'll blast the chassis and paint it all up while it's apart. There's not much trim in there at the moment. That's going to be a big
last
change.
thing. It always is when it's your own. Look, and that's looking pretty neat. That'll be cool. I'll be sucking in for a ride when we get over there.
We'll go for a cruise.
Yep. Well, there we are. One dash covered. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. I just want to say thanks again to you, mate.
No worries.
Appreciate you letting me come in and watch your work. A lot of people don't like people looking over your shoulder while you're doing it.
No, it's been a bit of fun because not many people get to see what goes into this sort of side of the car game.
That's right. One thing I did want to ask is, people will watch this episode, will be 30 minutes, maybe even longer than that because we've got a fair bit to show. Now, it didn't take 30 minutes to do.
No.
So how long you reckon it's taken you, your prep work from getting the dash, getting it ready to go, and to the finished product that we just saw here?
Well, just today in cutting, stitching up the other one with the black stitch and fitment, we've got 4 hours in that. And that was just to make it right. So we've been gas bagging, so we'd take probably half hour, 45 out of that potentially. But then I've also got 2-3 hours in sanding and prep work just on the dash itself to get rid of the repaired areas. As I said, it was poorly painted, so Dave's done quite a bit of work on that to strip it all down first, and then I've had to hand sand the whole thing anyway. So realistically, I've got 5 to 6 hours in a dash like this to do it this way. Now, as we discussed earlier on, other trimmers will do it quicker, some won't, some will. But that's how long it takes for me to do it, and I'd much prefer to try and do it as well as I can for the time we have available. and different materials take different times as well. Try and do it in leather. It's a whole different ball game again. So
no, it's certainly yeah, it's your own art. I tell you, you've
I enjoy creating things out of nothing.
well, that's good. Right, and you made it look easy, and that's a true professional doing it, because it's the same with anything. When someone makes it look easy, then they are good at it.
I used to love watching Pat Mercedes at Sunshine Trim, sitting down and watching him put things through the machine. We used to say, oh, you can do it with your eyes closed. And he's like, you can't trim a car with your eyes closed. So, but he always made it look so simple, and Adrian at Cool Trim was the same. It's just years of practice. I've been doing it nearly 18 years. So, it is 18 years. So it's been a while.
No, it was actually a pleasure watching you do it. All right, again, thank you, mate. We really appreciate it, and I think Dave will be over the moon.
No worries.
All righty, well, there you go. That's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for coming along and watching. Chuck a comment up if you like. If you want to contact Jared, chuck me a comment. I can forward you the details onto you, or we'll find a card and put a picture of that up. And that'll do. All right, if you haven't subscribed, please jump on and subscribe. Hit the bell, share it with your friends, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.